Welcome back to the Travsessed podcast. We're your hosts, Kim and Aaron. We are healthcare travelers and the creators of Travsessed. And this, my friends, will be the last podcast recorded under the Travsessed podcast.
Last Travsessed podcast ever. Like, holy poopy land.
Yeah, poopy land.
We recorded the first episode 4 years ago in a bedroom in Oroville, California.
Yeah.
And
the last one in Parker, Colorado.
Okay,
we'll
unpack.
Get into
Let's do this.
Okay, so intro was pretty big. And I think there's a lot to unpack.
Lots to unpack.
It was very like the death of Travsessed podcast, but it's not.
Well, it is.
It is.
And it's interesting because we started Travsessed podcast. Well, it was called Freedom and Scrubs. If you are
then the en route.
Oh my God.
And then the Gap Travel. No, Gap Travel.
No.
Then en route.
No.
Oh yeah.
Wait, we didn't call the
Yes,
podcast.
we did because we were like, we're going to go all in on gap years, baby.
Oh my gosh. Y'all, if you have been with us from the beginning, that first episode that we recorded in Oroville like 4 years ago, like holy crap. Thank you for being on this journey with us because we have gone through like so many different things, so many changes, so many ideas. I feel like we've taken this podcast on like a roller coaster. And
can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
Just on that note, before, I don't know where Kim was going with this, but I just want to say, like, the fact that you guys have come on this journey with us, and a lot of you have reached out to us and have said, I don't care what you call this podcast. I just like listening to what you guys have to say, and that means so much to me. It almost triggers like an emotional response, because it's like, it allows us to be messy. It allows us to take you along, and it's honestly shaped the new direction that we're going. And so I just wanted to have that moment to just kind of thank you for that, because of hearing that, of being Freedom and Scrubs, being Gap Travel, being en route, being Travsessed, and who knows what else other ideas we had in here. But it was because of you all listening that we are steering headfirst into this new direction.
Well, yeah, and it's like this community is everything, right? Like, you know, the people who listen to this podcast, you know, they're the ones that we connect with, that we share our life with, that they share their life with. They come on our trips, we meet them in real life. Like, I just feel like it's such a beautiful, like, tight-knit community, and like this is a safe place for us that we feel like we're able to come on, be ourselves, share what's going on in our life, change our minds a million times about so many different things. But that's so, like, we're all always changing our minds, right? We're trying something, it didn't work out, then we try something else, and like, you know, that's life, right? Like, that's the journey of life. But this podcast has given us this like safe place for us to show up every week and just like connect and be real. And that was why we even started this podcast, you know, back 4 years ago, was because, you know, we started teaching about healthcare traveling, right? Like, we would do weekly trainings every week, and we were teaching about logistics. Then we created our course Traveler School, and we were teaching logistics because we were so passionate about, you know, helping other people start traveling, because traveling changed our lives so much that we wanted to give back to that community and help people along the way. And we were passionate about it. But we realized, like, okay, like, I don't want to talk about bill rates anymore. I don't want to talk about tax homes. Like, I want to share the ins and outs of our lives as travelers, right? And all the stuff that comes with it, which is why we started the podcast, because we felt like that was the platform that we could just show up and tell stories and talk about other things. Besides, because we would like go live about teaching about something specific, but then we would always go off on all these stories. And we're like, this is what we love. Like, this is what we want to do. So that's really why we even decided to create the podcast and to connect with the community in such a different way, in a more personal, vulnerable, raw way, because we weren't able to really do that on like a live stream.
No, totally. And it was funny because then we would do the live stream, and then we started our personal training business too. And that kind of kicked a lot of it, where I wanted to give like monologues of like pump up things and like inspire people. And Kim's like, nobody wants to come to a workout and listen to you rant 15 minutes about something inspirational, even if it's the best thing you've ever said in your life. Like, they want to just come in and get their workout done. And I remember feeling so depleted, and I want to like be inspiring through our own story. And that's something that's like always been inside of me. And then also the monologues that we would have on our YouTube channel, like on video.
God.
We would be
20
like,
minutes.
we'd be in a cool location, and Kim and I are on this monologue of, and we're like, you know what? It's just not the time and the place. So the podcast just really felt like home, and it always has. This has been the spot where we can riff, we can go off on, you know, side roads, tangents, and just kind of really be raw and in the moment, you know?
Honest.
Yeah.
And ourselves, honestly. Like, I feel like myself, when we show up for this podcast, there's no, oh, let me make it sound a certain way, let me do this. Like, it's just kind of like we just put on the mic and go. And I love that aspect. And also, like, we love podcasts. I'm always listening to a podcast. Like, I'm a podcast girly, you're a podcast boy. And we listen to podcasts together, you know, like on Sundays, we always watch a podcast together.
Gibson Soul Sunday.
Yep. And we've done that for years and years. And then we would like stop it. It would be an hour podcast, and it would take us like 5 hours to get through it, because we would keep stopping. And then we'd have these inspiring conversations. And it was always stemmed from just listening to other people's stories and stuff that we were watching on a podcast. And like, they've had such an impact on our life, you know, and it's our go-to medium. Like, that's, you know, what we like. And so all of that to say that, you know, this has been such a journey for us. And we were really evaluating of like, okay, what do we want 2025 to look like? Like, what are we the most excited about, the most passionate about, like in our business, our life? Like, what do we want this to look like? And we realized we really, really want to go all in on the podcast. It is our favorite way to connect with our community and like with each other. But we know that we wanted to look different, because as of now, it's like we were doing Travel Tuesdays. We kind of stopped doing that because we were like bored of just talking about healthcare traveling. And then, you know, Thursdays are just kind of like our life, what's going on in our life, which pertains to being a healthcare traveler, essentially.
Totally. I mean, it was literally, it had gotten to the point where we talked about it all the time in our podcast. Like, I would come home on a Wednesday night after work, and we'd be sitting there after dinner, and we'd be like, oh, it's Wednesday, we got to do our podcast. And we would just throw on the mics and go. And we want to be a little bit more intentional with it, and not just, we don't really know what to say, so we're just going to talk, right? Which has worked for so many years, and it actually is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy that. And I think that also added to the fact that we love this so much that we could literally improv something and share from the heart, and it ended up being some of my favorite episodes, right?
And so here's the thing. So basically, we're starting a whole new podcast. But before that, that's not going to change, because what I love the most is just our dynamic and our banter. Like, we're never, I'm not like, let me tell you 3 ways to like blah, blah, blah. Like, that's our favorite part of what we do. And the feedback we get about the podcast is always like, you know, our stories and our banter and just kind of showing up and like, you know, having a conversation. We've always wanted to be super conversational, because those are the podcasts we like. You know, I'm not interested in listening to like a step-by-step. Like, I just want to hear people shoot the shit, right? So that's never going to change, but we wanted to be more topic driven, that then we pull our own stories and banter and kind of wherever it goes, right? Like, that's not going to change, but having it be more specific topics instead of just like, you know, what did you do this week? And there is a time and place for that when it applies.
Yeah, totally.
I do want to say too, because, you know, healthcare traveling has changed our whole life, right? And like, it's in our blood, right? It's who we are. It's like the path that we went down that like changed everything for us. It's our community. It's the people that we meet, that we talk to, that are on our trips, all the things. Like, that's not changing, right? And we have so many amazing resources that we've created over the years for travelers to help travelers get started. Our course, our membership, so many different things, right?
Not only to get started, but to connect, to be inspired, to hear that there is a path for them. So, I mean, it's all encompassing.
Yeah. And so that's never going to change. But we want to kind of broaden up the, excuse me, I just burped.
Okay.
The
At least you held that one in.
moving away from just talking about healthcare traveling, because that's a part of our life, but it's like, it's a big part of our life, I guess, right now in this moment and for the past 13 years, but there's so much more we want to kind of dig into. And so we've gone through phases in our own life, and we've gone through different transitions, and we're currently in a different transition. And so we really want to talk more about kind of behind the scenes of our life, like relationship stuff, marriage stuff, working together inside of a marriage, inside of a business, you know, this big transition in our life of trying to figure out, you know, do we want to have kids? Do we not? It's something we've gone back and forth about so many times.
I would say too, like, again, it comes back to what I said in the beginning of this episode, is just that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to go after something you want and it maybe doesn't work after 2 weeks. Like, that is life in general. And I think a lot of people feel that you have to have things figured out to quote unquote sell it to family, friends, community, whatever it is, that if you feel unsure about it, then why are you doing it? And people are going to have the negative things to say. And Kim and I have just always been unapologetically like, I don't know, we feel it, we're going to do it. You never know until you go. And that's been our motto together. And just the communication around that, how we come up with these crazy ideas, the fact that we've been able to do a lot of this stuff as a couple, and that's not something that we take for granted. The fact that, you know, we'll tell some of these stories and people are just like asking all these questions of like, but what if Aaron said no? Or what if Kim said no? Like, what would you do? And like, we realize that we're blessed in that way, but that's come from a lot of work, and that's come from a lot of things behind the scenes that we kind of want to like pull back on and talk about a lot more, because I do think that there's a lot of couples like that out there. Or even if you're single and you're like, I want to find a couple like that, you kind of have that template to hear stories of what worked, what didn't.
Yeah.
So just that, and honestly, unapologetically going after what it is that you want. You know, we really want to be, what was the word that we were talking about?
Permission slip.
The permission slip.
Yeah. Because that's such a through line in our life, right? Just being like, it's okay to change your mind a million times. If that is like our brand, honestly. Like, if you, like, people who have been on this journey with us, we're burning our scrubs. No, we're back at work. No, we're traveling the world for a year. No, we're back in a month. Like,
we're living in Florida forever.
Yeah, like, no, we're back on another trip. We're going to all the orange trees. Nope, we changed our minds. Like, we've literally changed our minds a million times about so many different things. And creating a safe place for that to be okay, because there's so many things that come up with that. Like, you said you were going to do one thing and then you changed your mind and now like you're embarrassed, or like it didn't work out, or like your family's like, oh, like, hi, you thought you were going to do that. That didn't. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. And it's just like, it's okay to like change your mind as you're navigating life and figuring things out. We always say you never know until you go. Like, you can give something a try and then you realize, dang, that wasn't for me. But then you have more information to then make your next decision of like, I thought that's what I wanted, but it wasn't. So now I'm going to go in this direction. And like, that's a really beautiful place to be. And like, I can't even imagine a life of like, you make a decision and that's just what you, like, you're sticking to it forever. Like, that's insane. And so, and unapologetically like designing your own life, that has been us from the get-go. Like, that has been our life story from the moment we decided to start traveling. And people were like, you're crazy. What are you doing? It's career suicide. Like, nobody understood what we were doing. And we're like, no, like, we want something different. And we freaking did it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And like we wanted to build a business. We wanted to work remote in a business and nobody freaking knew what that was. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, that's a scam. Like, what are you doing? Right? Or like being married, being together 17 years and still not having a kid. And like, we've just done so many things in like an unconventional way, but it's always been of like, unapologetically like what we wanted, regardless of what anyone else has said. And I think that's such an important part of what we've always talked about.
Right. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that, you know, not only are Kim and I living this unapologetic life to go after our dreams, but we're willing to kind of pull back the layers and share about it. And I think that's the biggest thing is not everybody's willing to kind of talk about their whatever it is, you know, and Kim and I are. We're an open book. We always have been. Ask us anything, we'll share it. Like there's nothing in me that says, ooh, no, I probably need to keep that. And sometimes that's actually a negative. Like I probably overshare some things. And that's okay because that is who we are. And that's why I love this platform so much because it's just Kim and I getting to kind of share. And there's been a lot of like therapy sessions that we've worked out together on this podcast, just talking through things. And so just continuing to dive into, you know, unapologetically going after your life, the permission slip to change your mind and follow your dreams, to marriage, to building businesses together. I think that's one thing that, you know, we've had some things go wrong and we've had some things go right, and kind of taking everybody through that and what that's like as a couple. And honestly, helping healthcare travelers get out of healthcare. That's a big passion of ours. And, you know, talking about how we come up with these ideas and how we work the problem backwards and how we figure this stuff out, and hopefully growing into being an outlet for other travelers to be able to pitch some ideas and we can work through them on this podcast.
Yeah, I freaking love that idea because like we, you know, the more travelers we're meeting in real life, like on our trips and stuff, the more people are like, I don't want to work it. I'm burnt out. I'm freaking over it. I want to do something different. I don't know what that is. And that's how we were, right? This is that was the genesis of everything we've created. It's like, we want to find something different. Like, we do not want to work in healthcare for the rest of our lives. Like that, not everybody feels that way, but there's a percentage of people that do. And we were part of that percentage. Yeah. And then navigating the whole kid thing, figuring that out, you know, being nomads for 13 years, wanting to settle down in some way, but still not knowing what that looks like because, you know, we're always traveling and our trips, our business, everything is about traveling. So like that's a whole adventure on its own, like trying to figure out what that looks like. And so the goal with the new podcast is really just to take you along on this journey in real time as we're figuring out this next chapter of our life. Are we having kids? Are we going to settle down? You know, talking about entrepreneurship more, couples, relationships, all like business, lifestyle, all like living an unconventional lifestyle. Like that is going to be more of the focus, and taking you guys along with us, same kind of vibe, right? Like happy hour vibe, fun vibe, conversational vibe, telling our own stories, weaving in different things on specific topics. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are also going to have guests on, which is something that to be quite honest, we just didn't really enjoy. But we're going to do probably an interview maybe once a month or something, but it's going to be more fun conversations with other couples. Yeah, like happy hour, conversational, just kind of having juicy topics of like, you know, the conversations we would have if we were just all at dinner having a glass of wine together. Yep. Like, what are we talking about? Like, those are the kinds of conversations with other couples that we want to bring to the podcast.
Well, and I don't know if you've ever had it listening where you're just sitting down at a table and you're just flowing with like, I don't know, your best friends or a friend you just met or another couple or whatever it is. And the last part of that conversation, you stop and you're like, man, this should have been recorded.
Yeah.
Like, those are the conversations, right? Yeah. And like, really diving into, to be honest with you, my whole goal too, and you can share on this a little bit, is I don't want it to be like, oh, I don't want to, I mean, that podcast is cool. Kim and Aaron are cool. I like what they share, but it's very healthcare travel forward, and I'm not a healthcare traveler. And I really want this to be like, yeah, they are healthcare travelers, which has allowed them to live this life, but they're talking about topics that anybody can listen to and anybody can dive into. And especially if you're a healthcare worker, this is for you. But obviously, like, even if you have those friends that aren't, who are just a couple, or they're kind of going through the same thing, but they work in another field, in finance, who knows, they can take something away from this podcast as well. So we're kind of broadening that out. So if you do have a friend that you feel would really love this podcast, we'd appreciate if you shared it out this new era.
So the vibe is going to be Tuesdays. We're calling it Obsessed with Travel Tuesdays. And that is going to be where we talk about something that's specific to travel, right? Because like travel is in our blood, it's in our soul, it's a part of our life. Like we, no matter what happens, like we're travelers, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's not going to be like healthcare travel specific. It's going to be travel specific in
Lounges.
general. So
Yeah.
like whether or not like maybe we have like a story from one of our travels and something came up through that, or a specific topic, but it will be geared around travel specifically. And then Thursdays are going to be more of the lifestyle conversation. So whether that's like an interview that we're doing, or it's a relationship topic, a couple topic, entrepreneur topic, kid topic, all whatever that is, Thursdays will be that kind of an episode.
Yep.
And so we'll be putting out 2 episodes twice a week. And we're going all in on this. Like, this is something that we are really passionate about. We're going to give it everything we have this year. And it means so much to us. We'll tell you the name of it in a second, but so much to us. If you start following us over there, subscribe, tune in, tell your friends, like anybody that's a couple, anybody that's maybe contemplating their next step in life, you know, do they want to have kids? Do they not? Do they want to leave their job? Do they not? Do they want to move to a new city? Like,
do they want to travel more?
Do they want to travel more? You know, do they want to start a side hustle? Just like anybody, a friend that you think will enjoy this episode for value, for entertainment, for just kind of being able to tune in and like connect with your friends. That's kind of the vibe we want to go with. Please share this, not this, but share the new podcast with them. And that would mean so much to us, because our goal is to really grow this podcast, taking it to another level, blowing it up. And really, really building an amazing podcast community, both for our healthcare traveling community and beyond, honestly,
Totally.
Because this isn't just for healthcare workers.
No, it's not.
Okay, so what's the name?
Drum roll. Brrr. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, amazing community, to the Obsessed with podcast.
Woo! Listen, okay. Obsessed with. I love that. And here's the thing. So we went back and forth about names and, what should we call it? Right? Because it's so hard when you're trying to like capture a vibe in a title. It's so hard to do. Anyone who does it, like, you know, right? And you're trying to get everything in. It's like, and so we just kept going back and forth, and I kept saying like obsessed with. So we're going to have like obsessed with, but then at the bottom, like on the podcast cover, it's like, you know, travel, relationships, lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. And because we're obsessed with all of those things. And it's also a play on Travsessed is obsessed with travel, mm-hmm. but we're opening it up to not just be travel, but the other things we're obsessed with in life, mm-hmm. like entrepreneurship, relationships, business, mm-hmm. you know, kids, or not, settling down versus like all of the life things. Mm-hmm. And so that's obsessed
it's cool.
with.
And
aren't you obsessed with it?
I am.
Plus we always say it.
Well, we do.
I do.
We do. And it's funny because there is like, obsessed with, you're obsessed with that. Like, but I kind of like that.
It's fun.
It's fun. And it's like, yeah, we are obsessed with travel. We are obsessed with building a lifestyle of our dreams, living together, our relationship we're obsessed with. So like, yeah, those things are top priority, right? And so whatever it is that you are obsessed with, hopefully it fits into those 3 categories, and if not, you know, come along and become obsessed with, which is really, really cool. And I do like, we were writing it out, and Kim was just writing out the idea, and we were spitballing it, and Keisha came back with, she just wrote one word, obsessed, and we didn't even tell her what the name of it was.
So Keisha is the girl who we are literally obsessed with. Yeah. She's amazing.
She should be at the bottom of the obsessed with.
She's just she's been a mentor to us here in Denver. We were introduced to her from our other friends, and she is a badass. Like, she has a podcast that is like insane, top ranked podcast.
The Empower Her podcast.
Yeah, Empower Her podcast. She does retreats. Like, she is just such an incredible...
She's a mom now. Her husband, Cena, they work together. I mean, it's just everything that,
So we met with her and did this like whole VIP day, and she was just amazing where she got into our business. We really focused on the podcast. And I basically sent her something about... I forget what it was. Oh,
just the direction.
The new direction we wanted to take our podcast in. And she just wrote back and was like, obsessed, and didn't even know the name. And I'm like, dude, this is it. Like, and we played with other names, but I kept coming back to that. And then you guys were coming back to it. And again, it's just something that, regardless, for years and years and years, like, we've always said it, which is kind of even Travsessed came, like, obsessed with, like, so I feel like it just works. It's fun, and I'm so excited. And the new podcast, Obsessed With, is going to drop its first ep on February 4th. That is when we are officially launching the new podcast. We will no longer be putting uploading any podcasts here on Travsessed. So please go head over. You can still find us on all the podcast platforms that you listen to, and just search Obsessed With, and you'll find us, and subscribe, share it with your friends. And that is where we will be releasing our weekly episodes. And we're also doing a fun giveaway on February 4th, the day that it actually launches. And we're going to be doing a fun giveaway over on our Instagram. So make sure to head over to our Instagram at Kim and Aaron G.
I'm going to spell it KIMANDERRANG. Wow, it kind of like is Dr. Seussy.
I like it. It's like
KIMANDERRANG.
Mic drop.
Wow, that's awesome.
So head over there. Well, you'll have all the details with the giveaway. We're going to be giving away some cool stuff. And we hope to see you over on Obsessed With. And again, thank you so much for being on this journey with us, for listening to the Travsessed podcast. And also just know, like, coming over to Obsessed With is going to be the same kind of vibes. If you're a healthcare worker, you're still going to get so much out of it, because we're healthcare workers. But if you're not, you're going to get so much out of it. You do not have to be a healthcare worker. It's life stuff sprinkled in with healthcare stuff, and because that is who we are as the hosts of this show.
It's a more Kim and Aaron kind of flow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kim and Aaron GB.
Whoa. What?
I don't.
Were you cussing, like bleep? Or?
Oh, and also I'm really going to try to not cuss as much, because, and I obviously still will here and there, but like not as much.
Why is that?
Because I think that there's just something about so when you and I are in a conversation, right? Like we cuss sometimes, like we'll say the F word, or we'll like throw words around. Like, we absolutely do.
Words are words.
Custom. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like the meaning you put around it. Like, we've never been those people of like, you're being crude. Like, don't say the S word. Like, that's just not us. Like, we'll say the S word, or the A word, or the F word, or the B word. But
I don't really use the B word, but yeah.
Actually, I don't either. Like, who really uses that? But when we're in a conversation, like, we're not like, at this, at that. Like, we don't speak like that in general. And so I think I'm trying to be more conscious of, like, when I listen to, I think it's because I was listening to something else, and that those words don't bother me, but it was like, it was just so much, and I just felt like, okay, like, it's kind of like, it's a lot.
Remember when we were listening to Cat Williams?
Yes.
Who we love.
Yeah.
And you just feel like, kind of like, okay, it's
like,
a little
enough.
over the top.
Wrap it up.
That instead of saying or you're just filling it with a cuss word, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that if you notice anything, Yeah, like typically, even at work, I don't cuss all the time, but I do when I get very passionate.
Yeah.
When I get very excited about something, those curse words come out because it's just like I'm expressing myself in a way of like emphasis, right? And so that's just kind of how we've always looked at it. But yeah, I mean, you cuss way more than I do on these shows, which is funny.
Yeah.
If we actually counted and took a tally.
Yeah.
Which is fine because I know you and I know that there's nothing derogatory or nasty. You're just excited.
Yeah.
And that's how you speak when you're excited.
Yeah. And I'm just saying I'm going to be more mindful of just like not overdoing it because I find that annoying as a listener.
Perfect.
So it kind of made me be like, okay, like be you, but just I'm going to be more mindful of it. So
yeah, love it.
All
right.
Okay, we will see you over on Obsessed With. I love that. I
can't wait for people to be like, dude, I am so obsessed with the Obsessed With podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, share it, please, you guys. Unapologetically asking you, please subscribe. Please share this with your friend, with your family, with your coworkers.
It means so much.
Please, please, please. We're begging. We're not above begging, okay?
No.
Just do it. And we will see you over on Obsessed With, the first episode, February 4th. Let's fucking go.
Let's go. And I also just want to
Let's go.
End it by saying thank you for following us this long on this Travsessed journey. It is something that we will always have hanging up. It'll always be a part of our hearts. And that was because of you guys giving us this opportunity to just come on and share. So thank you to everything that the Travsessed, Freedom and Scrubs, En Route, and Gap Travel podcast has brought us. And it's on to a new chapter, a beautiful chapter. So we'll see you over there. Obsessed With. Let's roll.